portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
The charred remains of a woman in her mid-30s was found in a two-story home near White's Addition off Camp Road early this morning.
Police say a 36-year-old man who reported having an altercation with the woman is assisting them with their investigations and are classifying this incident as a homicide. LaDawn Davis was on the scene.
These boisterous cries from relatives and friends pierced the air in the Camp Road area Wednesday morning as the lifeless body of 33-year-old Tiffany Knowles Cargill was wheeled away on a gurney by a local mortician after she was discovered burnt beyond recognition in a two-story home.
Adult male went to the Wolf Road police station where he had reported being involved in an altercation in the White's Addition area and reported a structural fire. Officers left the station to investigate this report, and upon arrival in the White's Addition area met a two-story concrete structure engulfed in fire.
Fire apparatus was later summoned to the area to extinguish the blaze. Meanwhile, a large number of detectives also combed the area searching for additional evidence.
The victim's aunt, Perscola Hall, says she is trying to cope with the tragic loss of her niece, who leaves behind 3 children, including a toddler who's only 3 years old.
Is what you see is what you get out of Tiffany. She don't shy from nothing. If she has something to tell you, she tell you. She's my sister's last child. My sister died. When my sister passed away, she was a little girl. And now today, I go to take my grandbaby to school. I got the call to say she's dead. This is unbelievable that Tiffany is dead. It's so difficult. When I saw Ian passing just now, knowing that is his last baby sister, it really hurt my heart more to see the pain in Ian's face. I know the way how he loved Tiff.
Now, relatives say the victim and her estranged husband were married for 11 years and separated for 2 years and were experiencing domestic issues. They told our news team that the victim reported the matters on several occasions. Investigations continue. LaDawn Davis, ZNS Network News.
In news from the courts, the verdict delivered today in the unlawful sex case of Joseph Folks. The 51-year-old father was on trial for having sex with a 12-year-old girl 2 years ago. Fern Carey was in court when the verdict was read.
Jurors deliberated for more than 3 hours, and when they returned to court, they determined by a count of 7-2 that 51-year-old Joseph Folks was guilty of having unlawful sex with a 12-year-old girl he knew 2 years ago. Folks, the son of former Governor General Sir Arthur Folks, appeared unemotional as the verdict was read. At the same time, the victim rested her head on her mother's shoulder and cried briefly as her mother hugged her. When asked by Justice Stephen Isaacs if he wanted to address the court, Folks' attorney, Bernard Ferguson, said, among other things, it was difficult making remarks at that time, especially if the defendant believed they did nothing wrong and would be vindicated. Calling it a very sad day, Ferguson said he respected the jury system and the jury's verdict. Folks was facing a maximum sentence of life in prison. However, Justice Stephen Isaacs sentenced him to 10 years behind bars instead, after explaining that he believed life behind bars was reserved for a repeat offender, even though Folks has a previous conviction for an unrelated matter. He also noted that the crime was an isolated, unfortunate incident. The judge also indicated that it was a sad case, as Folks is a married man with a child.
Now, Folks is expected to appeal that sentence, and he indicated as much in court. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Obi Wilchcombe, in a statement today said that 10 of the 12 of the gaming houses operators who would have filed affidavits in December 2014 that allowed them to operate during the transitional period became official applicants for gaming licenses yesterday. Even though his statement did not say which 10, the minister said the gaming board would scrutinize the applications, including looking at if they possess the requisite ability and meet the necessary requirements to conform and comply with the provisions of the gaming and related legislation. The minister added that operators who are not in compliance and who are not in possession of a publicly displayed compliance certificate from the gaming board should cease operations immediately and the public should refrain from patronizing such premises. He pointed out that the Royal Bahamas Police Force will be assisting the board in effectively policing and enforcing the law with respects to those premises that are not permitted to be open or that were instructed to close their businesses.
As the gaming board moves ahead in its final stages of its transitional period, attorney Alfred Sayers QC, who represents Island Luck and the 10-member Gaming House Operators Association, says he's confident that the industry will be properly policed.
The KYC obligations imposed on the gaming house industry is the very same KYC that is imposed on the banks, on the trust companies, on wealth managers. So there is no less a standard that they have to maintain than any other financial institution in the Bahamas. So it will basically strengthen, because this area of the financial services industry is owned by Bahamians. All of the other areas, banking, trusts, wealth management in the Bahamas is owned primarily by foreigners. So I think that it is a very strategic and significant development.
Education on government's recently implemented value-added tax regulation is continuing. It's been just over 3 months since VAT came into effect on January 1st this year. Today, however, an education seminar targeting the biggest group of businesses is underway here in the capital. Carla Palmer reports.
Small and medium-sized businesses have until April 28th to file their value-added tax returns with the government or face significant fines. In an effort to assist not only the government, the private sector VAT Education Task Force mounted the one-day education seminar to help advance the process for small and medium-sized businesses. Task Force co-chair Jasmine Davis says the group is cognizant of the significance of this free educational initiative to participants.
It is extremely sometimes expensive to have the available resources in terms of an accountant or a financial or tax professional, and so we thought that it was appropriate for us to sponsor this free comprehensive seminar.
Davis describes the response as overwhelming.
We, within a few days of putting the ad in the paper and also the blast going out to the small and medium-sized businesses, the quarterly filers, within 3 days we had more than 300 registrants, and we had to close the registration. And so yes, it's a phenomenal turnout. We're very happy that persons are trying to avail themselves of the information and the education.
Advice on filing, tips on record keeping, opening a bank account, online banking, responsibility on paying VAT return on cash accounts, and other requirements on a step-by-step basis were addressed. Owner of Sunshine Deli, David Williams, says as a business owner, he didn't have to think twice about attending this seminar.
For me, it was very important today that I personally decided to take a day off because I wanted to learn more about how to file my VAT returns and how to balance my input versus my output. So far, what I have learned is that it's very important that I file on time. I've also learned that it would be to my advantage to file on a monthly basis. And I've also learned that it's very important that I keep a receipt of any monies I spent and ensure that they have the VAT number on them.
Following this seminar, officials plan on taking the education campaign throughout the Family Islands, with Grand Bahama being the next destination. Carla Palmer, ZNS Network News.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.